my concern going forward is we have people volunteer and we have students to protect. And we have to make that clear line as to who's going to have contact with our students and who's going to be responsible for making the decision on what parents have access to our children. You know, people come up to me and say, you know, things happening in the theater, there's volunteers with they're backstage with the students. You know, that's the same type of situation. Who's allowing the people in the school, and where is the listing of how we allow people to come in contact with the children and students? And we have to tighten that down. And I sort of think we need to know what facts happen. You know, do you walk up one day and volunteer? You know, who says, okay, come on the field? That type of thing. I'm not against going totally with the superintendent. I wouldn't mind if Matt or I did that kind of help with him. But I think we need to get to a point where coming through that door or any door into this building, that we know exactly who's coming in contact with our children, and we do the proper necessary checks, whether they're volunteers, unpaid coaches, paid coaches. You know, certain things are required by the law, but certain things are required by common sense and safety of all our students. That's where we need to be focused on.
Any further discussion? Is the motion still alive?
Along with directing the superintendent, or if you feel that the motion is the direction that you want to go, then this board should set the policy date in which to discuss it as soon as possible. We are entering a new year, so let's get that conversation at a committee meeting.
And that's the reason why we said to bring it up at the October board meeting. We could do it sooner. If we could do it sooner, I'm just worried about with the budget and everything else.
Well, this is a policy committee discussion properly, and not only each one of us, but anyone from the community at large may propose a revision or a new policy to the board for consideration through the policy committee. I think that's the most effective way for this to get done. And there's nothing stopping us from starting that process very soon, and I don't see the budget getting in the way.
Can the appropriate policies be gleaned and provided in the Friday pack?
Certainly.
As step one, at least, to see where we're at.
Do you still want the motion voted on?
We have a motion and second on the floor, so it either has to be amended or voted up or
Rand,
down.
please call the vote.
Mr. Hurst.
No.
Mrs. Kleinmeyer.
No.
Mrs. Weebrand.
No.
Mr. Moon.
Aye.
I'm sorry, you didn't hear it.
Aye.
Mr. Cindy.
Aye.
Welch.
Yes.
Mr. Marciniak.
No.
At this time, though, I would, as a board member, like to direct the president to direct the superintendent to get rolling, to investigate where we need to be to find out what went wrong, and to set up a policy committee date to see how we can rectify this quickly. We're at the start of a new year with lots of volunteers. Let's have this dialogue and conversation, and let's set a date.
And policy is terrific, but a lot of the issues we've been talking about here this evening have been issues of ensuring that compliance is happening. And we've got to close that loop as well.
I agree.
Okay, if there is no other new business, we'll entertain a motion to go to closed session. We have a second opportunity for visitor statements. Anyone?
I'm still doing that. Just as an FYI to the board, I have been a volunteer in the RV library for the past 7 years, including 2 years when I did not have a child here. My volunteering in the library, I come in no contact with the students. When I come to the school, they're in classrooms. When I leave, they're in their classrooms. I don't leave during passing periods. My volunteering in the library, I process books, I will shelve books, I've done computer work in the back room for the librarians. In order to volunteer here, I have never been able to come in and volunteer before mid-October because Doreen Fritz has gone through whatever the proper policy procedure is to ensure that I am okay to come in and volunteer in the school. And I would just ask that the board ensures that proper policy is in place for people coming in with athletics and every other department that there is. I've been doing it for 7 years. Doreen knows I'm doing it again this year. She's already contacted me about reshelving books in the library when it is finished and things like that. You know, I can't come in and do it. Why can other people do it? It's just a good question. Thank you.
So you have gone through the background check, Judy?
Doreen's taking care of it every year.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other visitor statements? You could identify yourself, please.
No, I'm just speaking as a, out of a long history of volunteering.
If you
Sorry,
could
Mary
identify.
Miller. Sorry.
Thank you.
Sorry. I just, Jimmy knows me, that's why I'm saying. When my son was little, played Pop Warner, I had really honestly no coaching contact on the field yet. I was forced to go through a background check. I believe it was sexual in nature. It didn't bother me, I said go right ahead. I'm sitting there thinking about how you volunteer. I volunteer for the boosters, and I'm not in the field with the football players, but, they walk by me, there's kids. So, I mean, this could be, like, potentially really huge if every single volunteer is screened for whatever you decide, whether it's drugs, whether it's, alcohol-related things, whether it's sexual things. So it might just be something you want to think about.
I'm Gary Zolli, I'm president of the Booster Club, and that's why I'm just wondering how we have all parents, most of the people here volunteer concessions in the school, out, football. I don't know how you do checks on all of them, or if you have to, how, where you stop, where you start. I agree there's something happened with this that you don't want to ever have that happen again, but when we use the term volunteer, is it going to be as broad as to involve every parent that volunteers? And like I said, hopefully for the first football game, we'll have 15 parents volunteer for that. Do we have to supply lists to the school of who the parents are that are volunteering? And, there's just no way you could check anything like that.
I guess that's what we're going to discuss.
Yeah, so that's just something else to think about.
Very well. Any other visitor comments?